Hello, everyone. What's going on? How's everybody today? Welcome to another episode of Unpack This with your host, the Authentic Coach. I'm Gloria Bailey Ray, and I'm always excited when you join me. You know, we always bring in some real stuff, and Unpack This is literally talking about all these different things that we need to learn to unpack. How about that? I'm excited that you guys are here with me today. And the podcast, uh, you know, dealing with rebound relationships is the emotional detour that we don't want to talk about. And this is real, ladies and gentlemen. So, we're going to talk about dealing with rebound relationships and the stuff that shape us, shift us, and sometimes wake us up, right? So, you know, those relationships that fall right into your life right after something ends, basically, where you think that you're healed until you realize you're not. Anybody relate to that? So, when we think about rebound relationships, it's where attention feels like affection and distraction literally feels like healing. So today we're just going to talk about that. We're going to unpack it. I want to say to all of you, if you have comments, at times I'll bring you on live, so be prepared, but put your comments in the comment section. And as always, I'll do my very best to get to you. I see that some of you are there. And so thank you so much for being here. With that being said, let's just kind of, just jump right into, uh, what's happening, what's going on, and why I wanted to talk about rebound relationships. So here's the question: why rebounds happen, right? Why do you think they happen? Well, what they reveal, rebound relationships, what they reveal about our wounds is one, you need to be clear on, how to know if you are even in a rebound relationship. And if you are, how do you move from this reaction to real recovery? Because a lot of people jump from one relationship to the other. And some of you guys can relate to that because you've never healed, right? You just all in. And the reality of it is that if you're not healed, you're bringing that old baggage with you into this new relationship. So, if you have ever said, I don't want to be alone, or I just need something to take the pain away, then I'm just going to tell you this episode is actually for you. So, let's just get into it. So, talk about what is a rebound. Really, what is it? Let me see if I can unpack this. Rebound is not just the person after the breakup. It's the relationship you step into before your heart and mind have caught up with reality. Do I need to say that again? A rebound is basically, check this. Here's some buzzwords for you: emotional anesthesia. It's a distraction from grief. And when you think about it, it really and truly is more or less, it's a shortcut around loneliness, a band-aid. That's probably a better way to think. A band-aid over a wound that actually needs stitches. And here's the thing that so many of us rarely admit: rebound relationships don't always look unhealthy at first. To feel good, all of that. Sometimes the person is kind, sometimes they're charming, sometimes they show up the way your ex never did. But being better than the last one, it doesn't make them right for you. Think about that. A rebound is defined by intention, not the person. So you got to ask yourself, do I want this person, or do I want the feeling that comes with being wanted? right? Rebounds happen because we want to bypass pain. But here's the thing, pain doesn't disappear because you avoid it. Pain waits for you. Ouch. Did I say that? Pain waits for you. So when we talk about, or I should say, let's unpack this, why we fall into rebounds, I just need to get really real with you. Most rebounds are not about desire, they are about fear. And y'all all know that acronym FEAR, FEAR, false evidence appearing real, right? And so when you attach that fear and what we're really talking about, here's what I need you to know. Hey, thank you guys for being here. I see you. First of all, fear. Let's talk about the first fear. Number one, the fear of being alone. We attach so quickly because the silence, it feels too loud, because the bed feels too empty. Can any of you guys relate to that? Because we think being alone means being unlovable. The farthest thing from the truth, y'all. The farthest thing. But loneliness, hear me when I say this, loneliness does not mean you're lacking. It just means you're detoxing. Some of y'all know you've been in relationships and you realize I just need to detox. And when you think about detox, you know, it's a cleansing. It's getting out all that mess. And that's why we want to unpack it. You guys have stayed in situations for too long. You need to get up from the table. And when you get up from the table, you need to take your chair with you, if that makes sense. So when we talk about rebound relationships and having that fear of being alone, are any of you out there that can relate to that? Can any of you guys relate to, that feeling of being alone? You've broken up with somebody you felt you were in love with, someone that you cared for, and guess what? They're not with you anymore. And so you can't deal with the loneliness because the noise is too loud. Well, look, here's another reason that people have fear, and they jump into these relationships because another fear is literally about fear of facing ourselves. After a breakup, and especially when it's a painful one, you really and truly are forced to meet the you behind the relationship. The you without the mask, the you without the role, the you who now has to decide what comes next. And sometimes we don't like that reflection. So, you know what? You get into something new to avoid meeting that fear that you have of being alone. Why you jump into these rebound relationships? I mean, if nothing else, guys, that in itself is scary. And when you don't want to face and deal with reality, what's the definition of insanity? You continue to repeat over and over and over the same thing, no matter what. That's a reality. That is a reality. And then here's the other, to me, the other myth about why you jump into rebound relationships. It's because you fear missing your ex. Some people rebound because they're scared they'll go back. Now get this. Some people rebound because they're scared they'll rebound back if they stay single long enough. Guys, it's all about unpacking that mess, the stuff you're dealing with. Fear of missing your ex, just, think about it. Being with someone, anyone, feel safer than facing old patterns. Still, you gotta unpack the stuff, you guys. That's real. And you know what? Being with someone, anyone, and some of you can relate to that. You've jumped from the fire. They say from the frying pan into the fire, and that is basically what's happened. And at the end of the day, the another fear is your loss of identity. You don't even know who you are. See, when you've been someone's partner for a really long time, you actually forget the you that existed before them. And I'm always curious why, and I've been in that situation too. Why do some of us stop being who we are once we get into a relationship? What is that about? You know, so what happens is a rebound relationship gives you that temporary identity, the wanted, the chosen, the needed, the relevant. But I'm here to tell you, my dear, you're all of those things even when you're alone. And that's the piece that to we've got to come to accept, right? Rebounds are nothing but emotional shortcuts. You hear me? They're emotional shortcuts. That's all. And we all know sometimes what happens when you take the short way around things. But the shortcuts, guys, they don't lead to healing. They just lead to detours. That's the reality. So we're talking about uh, rebound relationships, right? And the detours, the things that aren't willing to unpack, we aren't willing to talk about. It's real. That's the things. And like I said, I just gotta say it again. Shortcuts. When you take a shortcut, jump into another relationship, you know what? It does not lead to healing, but it's just nothing but a distraction. It's a detour. So some of you saying, well, how do I know I'm in a rebound relationship? Good question. Because a lot of times until I stop and listen to the voice inside of me, it didn't compute. So you want to know what the signs are if you're in a rebound relationship? First of all, if you're listening right now and you're asking yourself, how do I know if this is a rebound relationship? Let me give you some signs. First of all, the pace is fast. Ooh, wee, juicy. You talking all day. You're spending multiple nights together. You're planning the future. And you still you hadn't processed the past. Any aha moments there? Um, Another sign that you're in a rebound relationship is that person, they become your emotional substitute. You talk to them the way you used to talk to your ex. Same pattern, different person. Then there's the constant comparing. He listens more, or she listens more than my ex. He or she doesn't yell. He actually calls me back. I'm here to tell you, if you're doing a comparison, that's a red flag. It's a red flag that your heart is still in transition. No matter what you say, you doing the comparison, the tit for tat, I'm telling you, you're in a rebound relationship. And then another way to decide if you're in a rebound relationship is you're not emotionally present, right? You are emotionally escaping. Those are some new buzzwords. You like the distraction more than the connection. It's something that keeps you busy, keeps your mind occupied, so you don't have to think, right? Um, Here's another thing: is you avoid talking about the breakup or the healing work. So I guess if you think about it, rebounds thrive in avoidance, right? But real relationships, they thrive in honesty. Think about that for a moment. So, are you the rebound? Have you ever asked yourself that question? So, let's talk about the perspective that no one wants to face. What if you're the rebound and you're want to know the signs? Because so many times you've gotten into these relationships and the guy or the lady, they don't really tell you what's going on. Like I said, all that is feel good. You're talking all the time, spending a lot of time together, but it's so intense. I know that there's this ringing, this bell going off in your head. You need to be thinking about it. So if you're wondering if you're the rebound, so let's talk about this. They talk about their ex a lot, and they talk about them especially with emotions, anger, tears, uh, bitterness, even obsession in some cases. Honestly, that's unresolved attachment. Wondering, are you the rebound? They need you fast and intensely. That made me think about a relationship I had been in. A guy had gone through a divorce, you know? And if that's the case, you become their comfort, their distraction, their emotional life support. Important to note, you guys. They rush intimacy. And I'm not talking about just physical intimacy, but I'm talking about emotional intimacy. They want um, this deep conversations before they've even built trust with you. Mm, make you go, mm. And then there's that piece. The relationship feels uneven. And what do I mean by that? Is that you're investing and they're consuming. They're taking, right? The other thing is that you feel uh, replaceable. And you feel like that because they're not bonded to you. They're bonded to the space you feel. Listen up, y'all. Let me free you. Being someone's rebound, it is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their wounds. Again, when you're somebody's rebound, it's not a reflection of your worth, but it's a reflection of their wounds. And that's deep, y'all. I mean, that is deep. So, check this. Check this. Let's talk about the cost of rebound relationships. See, rebounds come with consequences, emotional consequences. And I'm smiling because it's got me to thinking, right? Um, what happens is you prolong the healing you're trying to avoid. You delay the grief, the lessons, the self-awareness, and so many of us don't have that awareness. We're just not connected in that way to ourselves. That's huge. Um, you create this emotional dependency. That's right, I said emotional dependency. Um, and what I mean by that, you actually end up attaching to someone who was never supposed to even be permanent in your life. And that's where a lot of those oops come from. So we need to have this awareness. Um, the other thing when we talk about rebound relationships is that you build this emotional, um, actually it's really you're building a foundation emotionally that's unstable. There's no stability there. There's instability. And so you already know that if you jump into a relationship where there's confusion, where there's chaos, loneliness, you should already know it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. And then here's the other thing for me is you risk hurting someone who didn't break your heart. So you taking it out on this person, your rebound, who really could be a really, really good person. And you break their heart. Why? That becomes the question. You weren't healed. And that's why you need to unpack that. You need to know if you jumping into a rebound relationship and you haven't done the work yourself, nobody else can do it for you guys. You got to be able to do the work yourself. Okay? So, the other piece of this rebound relationship also comes with in when you lose clarity. And clarity only comes from you sitting with yourself, being silent, solitude, right? I know it's uncomfortable. I've been there, done that. But no healing began until I was able to sit with my own self, right? So when you're sitting with yourself, that's where you get to deal with the real truth, the real you, the real stuff, right? And these are things to consider. If you are the rebound, or if you're in a rebound relationship, if you've not done the work, if you've not did what you knew you needed to do, guess what? Those relationships just don't work out. They just don't, right? So you're probably saying, all right, so I'm giving you all of this. We talk about unpacking this, but here's the deal. How do you break the rebound cycle? How do you break it? Well, um, and I've heard people say this: cycles can't be broken, but that's a lie. I don't believe that. Rebound cycles can be broken. So the first thing you got to do is you got to pause. Pause. That's what I said. Pause. Not break up, not ghost the person, but just pause. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm actually feeling? And again, so many of us, we don't want to deal with that. We don't want to check the inner self, right? Here's the other thing. You got to be honest with yourself. You know, are you healed or are you hiding? And I know of a number of people, both men and women, that were really, really good persons, but got into a relationship because the other person um, had come out of a relationship and was using them basically as a rebound. And the person is really hurt. And that's painful, guys. That is so painful. So, the how do you break this? How do you get out of this? You know, um, don't sit around and try to fill the void. You got to sit in it. And that's the hardest piece, sitting with yourself, sitting there, being alone, being quiet. Um, but when you're sitting and you realize in this void, in this moment, that's where healing begins. That really and truly is the deal. When you're quiet. Now the inner work piece, how you heal from a rebound relationship or to know if you're in one. Here's one of the things is, you've got to do things like journaling. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't like to write. I don't look. We got so many tools now. You can just click the microphone on your phone and, just go to work, uh, just speaking what you're feeling, right? Of course, there's always therapy, there's coaching, uh, but setting boundaries for others and for yourself. I had to learn that no really means no. I would say no, and then somebody would, oh, I can't do that, and guess what? I'm sucked back in. I don't want to do that. Um, And the self reflection piece, long walks for me, it's walking by the water. It's very therapeutic, it's quiet, it's calming. Um, and then to just evaluate, what did this last relationship teach me? What did I learn? What is it that I don't want to take with me into this next relationship when I am ready, right? And a lot of times people feel like time is running out. It's not running out. The right thing, the right person will come along at the right time when you've done the work. Um, but remember, you got to take responsibility. You must be responsible. You got to take responsibility. A rebound is I want to say it's not so much that it's a mistake, but I would say it certainly is a message, right? And if you're really listening and you're tuned in, it tells you where you need healing. That's the beauty of it. So if you've done that and then you feel like I'm at this crossroad, um, you need to be real clear that if you're going to start today, you got to re-enter the dating scene with intention, you know? And what do I mean by that? Well, um, you know, you got to ask yourself, am I choosing the right person that I'm going to date or I want to date? Are you doing it with clarity, not out of confusion? You know, or are you choosing out of loneliness? And you have to be really, really clear on that. So essentially, I guess I'm saying is you got to have alignment over attachment. What are you attached to? Um, Remember this, your worth doesn't live in who wants you. I'm going to say it again. Your worth doesn't live in who wants you. And I really need you to hear this with your whole heart because so many people have their worth tied up into this. But your worth, it's not determined by who stayed, it's not determined by who left. It's not determined by who replaced you. And y'all know some of y'all get upset. Yeah, she took my man. He took my woman. Listen, you need to understand that your worth, it's not tied up into who wanted you, who needed you, who chose you last. That's what we're talking about. We're unpacking these rebound relationships. Your worth in itself is intrinsic. It's unchanging and it's non negotiable. Hear me when I say that. And when you think about rebound relationships, they happen more often than not because we've forgotten all of this. We think that we need somebody to confirm our values. But, beloved, your value is not up for debate. We must learn that your value, because someone else doesn't see your worth or your value, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't even matter. It don't matter what they think, right? But you have to understand um, that, you know, in my opinion, the most powerful relationship you can rebound into is the relationship with yourself. You get that? So rebound relationships, they aren't bad. They're just remember, MIS, mistimed, meaning it happened. It just wasn't at the right time. Y'all ever met somebody like that? I know that I have. And it's like, the timing is all wrong. The timing is all wrong, right? So they feel a moment that needs healing, but not replacing. So if you're in one, if you're in a rebound relationship or you just got out of one, you got to give yourself some grace, y'all. You're human before you are anything else. And healing isn't linear. What do I mean by that? It is possible to heal if you're willing to do the work. If you are willing to do the work. So guess what? If this particular episode resonated with you, I'm going to ask you to share it with someone who might need to get some of these reminders about rebound relationships, right? And don't forget, you can always come to the table with me, but only if love is being served. Listen, I'm Gloria Bailey Ray, the Authentic Coach. And until this time next week, I will be on. Please like, share, follow. And I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate you all being here. All right? Be well. Again, I'm out. Peace.